I think the meatiest part of our schedule is on its way with Boise, San Diego State, and Army coming up here.
Yeah, I called it last week. They said the gauntlet. So the first obstacle in the gauntlet is complete. Now it's time for the next one.
Absolutely. So tonight we're gonna be welcoming in a special guest who does a lot of Boise State videos. Big Boise State fan, runs our Mountain West Conference Alliance page on Facebook. We're just waiting for Facebook to connect him. Rick, you want to introduce him?
Yeah, everybody. This is Jacob Blaymeyer. He is, if they call me and Alex super fans, he definitely is a BSU super fan. If you get an opportunity, he's got an amazing YouTube channel, gets in a lot of depth. Definitely a little more technical than me and Alex typically do, but welcome, Jacob.
Thank you. Oh, it's awesome to be here. I hope you can see me. Everything looks good. Just give me a thumbs up if everything's all right on your end.
Yeah, everything seems to be working well.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Yeah, and it's really great to be here. Like you said, I've got a YouTube channel, Bronco Blaymeyer. You can look me up on that. And then Rick's here is actually one of the admins for our new Facebook page for the Mountain West Conference Alliance. We started that a couple months ago. It's already up past 800 members. We haven't got all of them yet, but we've got 8 out of the 12 largest Facebook groups related to Mountain West teams. All their admins are part of our team. We're building that. So make sure you check out the channel. Make sure you check out the Facebook page.
Good stuff.
Yeah, very good stuff. I know our two teams are colliding together, but I also know you're an Air Force veteran as well.
Yeah, I'm currently in right now. So this game's always tough, and actually my dad, my uncle, and my grandfather all went through and graduated from the Air Force Academy. So I've grown up a Boise State and an Air Force fan, and it was easy because they never played each other. Boise State was in the WAC, and then Air Force was in the Mountain West. And then they joined the same conference, and those first few games were really tough. I do bleed blue Boise State first, but I still Air Force fan on all their other games. And if anyone's going to beat Boise, if anyone's going to beat Boise, I'd rather be Air Force than anyone else, even though I'd rather Boise win. So.
Well, that's definitely a fair opinion. And obviously, just so you know, not sure I would welcome a Wyoming fan, but definitely a Boise State fan who's an Air Force veteran is always welcome on our page. Right, Rick?
Yeah, I agree. And, to Jacob's point, conversely, if we're going to be beat, I'd rather be beat by the Broncos than Army or Navy.
Well, at least their name is the Broncos, because that's a team we both watch on Sunday, right?
And
there you go.
Tickets to.
Absolutely, yes. So obviously, Jacob, feel free to chime in. I know I gave you the script ahead of time, but we're just going to start previewing Boise State, at least from our perspective. Let's just break into it, shall we?
All
right. So what we're looking at, and obviously I've watched a little of Boise State's games, not religiously, obviously, like you do, but I have watched quite a few of them, and it looks like Boise State's given up quite a few yards rushing per game, 180.2, and I know they haven't necessarily faced some of the top rushing teams on their schedule yet. I know UCF put quite a few yards on them. I know Utah State tried to mimic that, but they also played a horrendously bad game that day. So I definitely think UCF exposed your rushing defense a little bit.
Well, when we're looking at UCF game, first off, that was a completely different UCF team at the beginning of the season than it is now. I mean, they had a Heisman caliber quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, who's now injured and out. So that if he'd stayed healthy and hadn't gotten injured in that Louisville game, I think we'd be looking at an undefeated UCF going up against Cincinnati in this week's game. So it is a little bit of a different team, but yeah, it's a brand new coaching staff. We have a brand new head coach, brand new offensive coordinator, brand new defensive coordinator. Brian Harsin pretty much left all the cupboards bare, and we've been having to rebuild. And it's also a young defense. Last season was really the first time a lot of the guys on the defensive end were getting a chance to start, and then we lost a couple of our key safeties or that's not safeties, but key defenders, particularly Avery Williams. So our defense has been trying to rebuild, and I think you're definitely seeing that in the way that Boise State's playing in both the run and the pass game. You know, the stats don't necessarily reflect it. I think we've been pretty porous against the pass as well, but we've been taking steps forward each game. And last week, a team that was averaging over 170 yards per game only put up 111 on us, and we held their main running back, Algier, to under 80 yards rushing. So we're moving in the right direction. Air Force probably can still put up a lot of rushing yards, but the key is bend but don't break.
Then that makes sense. And I know I was watching some of your video earlier, and I saw that some of your corners are out, correct? So I'm not sure which side they're on, but I would expect a lot of rushing attacks on those corners with those starting corners out.
Well, actually, we lost both of our top starting corners. They were absent for the BYU game. We have a couple of talented freshmen who stepped up big in that one. And this is going to be a real test and proof of Andy Avalos and the coaching staff to see, okay, are they just dependent on the guys up there, or are they coaching the guys in the back end to be able to be that next man up mentality? So Air Force, always a big test for any team with that crazy option offense. You know, it's like playing a dinosaur, some from a bygone era, because it's very, you know, everyone used to run it like 100 years ago, and now nobody does. So you're playing something that's historic, that has a lot of success, but that nobody really runs anymore. And so you have to kind of switch your brain, because it's not something you usually defend against. So something a lot of teams definitely struggle with, and Boise State has struggled in the past. And the last time that Boise State had a new coaching staff, they lost 3 games in a row to Air Force before they could figure out that option offense. So we'll have to see what happens this year.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely will be interesting. Rick, any thoughts?
Well, you know, one of the things that I've noticed is, like Jacob was saying, Boise is starting to turn the corner a little bit, and you know, what a great test for Air Force. We are as healthy, knock on wood, as we have as we've been all season. You know, Kyle Patterson and Lakota Wills will probably not be present the rest of the year. You know, I'm hoping for a miracle, but I doubt it. But with that exception, we're getting pretty much everybody back. You'll see a TD Blackman is going to be back. Micah will have another week healthy, and you know, the offensive line is getting healthy. So, you know, I'm looking forward to this challenge for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of, I think it'll definitely be an interesting game. It'll be interesting to see how Air Force's rushing attack, who leads the nation currently, you know, responds to maybe one of the better defenses we've seen. We'll see how it all shapes up on Saturday.
Well, the thing that scares me, if you don't mind saying, the thing that scares me most about Air Force isn't their running attack right now, which is always a problem. It's the fact that they also have a competent passing game. You know, that's not something you always see out of Air Force. But Hazik Daniels is just doing an incredible job. At 6 games into the season, he already has more yards passing than he did last year, 6 years in the season. Of course, he can run the ball like any Air Force quarterback is expected to. But Air Force has traditionally taken advantage of the Boise State defense in the passing game as well. I mean, because Boise State gears up to stop that option, and then Air Force draws them in. And when you're looking at with a Boise State defense that is, like I'm saying, they were young anyway, and now they're younger with a lot of their starters hurt. They are missing potentially three of their starting corners are going to be out in this one. So it's going to be a young secondary that is going to be having, when you're playing the option, it's all about your assignments and being able to focus in and understand that it's one play at a time. The play that happened before you can't then go off of that for what you're going to do the next time, because Air Force is just going to draw you up and up and up to the line and hit you over the top. So we're going to see, like I said, that test of the coaching staff. We're going to see how well these corners have been coached to cover their assignments, not get ahead of themselves, trust their teammates, and play one snap at a time.
Oh, absolutely. It'll definitely be interesting to see on Saturday how that defense responds, because like you said, it's something you don't prepare for. It's something that you might spend maybe a couple days on in spring practice, and then you only have, unless you're Army, who seems to always take buys before they play us, kind of cowardly, you only have a week to prepare ahead of time for it.
Yeah, and you know, the thing you pointed out yesterday, Jacob, really, you know, you can try to run it on a scout team. You could try to duplicate it. But if you're not the guy that does it all the time, you're not going to get that next level twitch. And to your point, one of the guys who will be healthy for this game on the offensive side of the ball is a guy by the name of David Cormier. DC is he's been battling a groin injury. I talked to him yesterday. He is planning on playing, and he's the type of receiver that you have pointed out, that over-the-top guy. In the past, it's been Garrett Brown, Jalen Robinette, Rod Sanders. You know, this is a guy that could get in deep if given the chance.
And he sneaks around too. He's very good.
Yeah, he sneaks around at 6'5", 220.
What I'm hoping to see out of this Boise State defense is a team that is maybe occasionally able to get Air Force off the field, you know, just regularly kind of getting them out. You know, I'm not expecting a lot of 3 and outs, but getting them off the field in a couple of drives, forcing some field goals. But what Boise State has kind of lived on defensively and died on defensively is the big plays. You know, they've had more turnovers this season than they have in recent history. I don't have the exact stat, but last year they had 3 turnovers and they already had 8 interceptions this year, and they had 3 interceptions all of last year and no forced fumbles. And against BYU, they forced 3 forced fumbles. So they have been a very, very turnover prone, or not turnover prone, but very, very attacking, aggressive, going to get those turnovers type defense. And that's what saved them when they've given up all these yards. I mean, they gave up over 400 yards on the ground, more yards to BYU than Boise State had, but they held them to 17 points because of those turnovers. And when you're playing an option offense, the thing that's going to kill them the most is lost yards and turnovers, because if you can get a couple of scores up on an option team, they don't have a lot of tools necessarily to have those quick drives. That's not where their strength is. So I'm looking at Boise State, try to get some lost yardage plays here and try to get those turnovers. But you're right, that option offense is going to put up a lot of yards, I'm sure of it.
Oh, absolutely. And moving away from that a little bit, and we're just going to preview a little bit, or kind of review a little bit of Boise's what they've done this year. They've had a tough schedule, to be honest with you. And I would say it is a very quality win against BYU, some quality losses against Nevada and Oklahoma State. To me, that UCF one was a little bit of a head scratcher, but, you know, with that quarterback being out, that makes sense, because obviously I saw what Navy did to him a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So I was a little bit surprised by that. But honestly, 3-3 on paper, but there's also been some close games as well.
Yes. And, you know, you're looking at a 1-point loss to Oklahoma State, where really Boise State on paper won that game. It came down to basically in the last 2 minutes, Boise State's defense was shutting out Oklahoma State, and they forced a fumble and returned it for a touchdown, but the referee blew the whistle and called the player down by contact, and which they ended up reversing, but you can't give back the touchdown. And so the referees really there's a lot of reasons Boise State lost that game, but they would have won if not for that referee call. So you're looking at a Boise State team that, you know, is at the very worst 4-2 with a win over Big 12, and then Nevada game, you know, just a rash of unfortunate situations in the second half that gave that game away. So you are looking at a Boise State team, and again, a UCF game came down to basically final drive. Boise State was driving, and then Hank Bachmeier forced to pick. So you're looking at a Boise State team with a brand new head coaching staff that's been a few plays away here and there from being unbeaten this year. So it's
I'd probably put them in the top 25 too.
Yeah. So it's a
bit easier for Boise State to be ranked than Air Force.
Air Force absolutely deserves to be ranked, in my opinion. This is one of the best Air Force teams that I've seen in a long time. 5-1, and really 4 points away from being 6-0 with that really, really well fought Utah State game. And I was actually predicting in my preseason projections that Air Force would be undefeated at this point. So just 4 points off from an undefeated record. They absolutely deserve to be ranked. Very good Air Force team.
Oh, absolutely. We were predicting 6-0 too, but I think there was a little bit of a Navy hangover, wouldn't you say, Rick?
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously, good Boise State team that we're coming up against. I know, Rick, you probably had some updates on some players and thoughts. Keep getting it to Brandon Lewis.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the, you know, Jacob, you remember last year, you had mentioned yesterday that we were able to put up 30 on you guys, and I was so impressed with Jack Sears. But, Brandon Lewis is a guy they've really been reluctant to get involved this year. His role has increased as some of the injuries have increased. But here's a guy, every time he put his hands on the ball, he's 22 yards per touch.
Right.
So get this kid the ball.
Oh, absolutely. He had a great game the other day, and the more we keep getting him the ball, eventually he's going to break out for some of those long robinette type passes.
Yeah, little dude, fast.
Well, that's the thing with Air Force is they're so deep this year because for really as far as I know, the first time in their history, they got to give a lot of their players a redshirt year because of COVID and because of the exemptions. So they were playing with a skeleton roster last season, still managed to go 3-3 and put up 30 points on Boise State, and they're much better this year with the experience that they got from last season plus the depth that they have across the board this year. It is a very, very scary Air Force team coming in to play on the blue this year.
Well, like you were saying about we've got so many young players just like Boise does, and our offensive line averages, 19 years old. We are going to be around for a while. I'm excited about it, and hopefully we can push forward. I'm just hoping for an exciting game, especially making the trip.
Oh, absolutely. So, Rick, any other thoughts on players or updates before I get into my keys to victory for an Air Force win?
I was thinking about we're seeing a small improvement in the kicking game.
Yeah. That was a key field goal they hit last weekend.
Right. I talked to some of the special teamers. Anthony Rodriguez is gaining confidence every week. As far as updates go, like I said, we're going to be as healthy as we've been. The only guy I'm thinking we may not see on the offensive line is Isaac Cochran, our left guard. He's probably going to be out, but we have good depth at that position. We got Wesley Nandago. He's highly recruited. He'll step right in nicely, and I'm looking forward to what you have to say.
Absolutely. So let's break into it.
Just before we get into your keys to the game, just a little bit more context here on Boise State, just real fast, if that's all right.
All right.
I talked a lot about their defense, but I just want to talk real quick about their offense here. And you're talking about kind of updates on players and that kind of thing. Well, I don't know if you're tracking, but our number one running back, or our best running back, not statistically because he's been hampered by injuries, but he was out against BYU, George Halani. Looks like he might be out this week as well. And then our second leading running back, Cyrus Habibulikio, he exited last week in the third quarter with an injury. And Andy Avalos has been close to the chest on whether these two guys will play. But then also our third running back, Van Buren. I was going to say Van Der Esch, but sorry, Van Buren, our third running back, Van Buren, he exited the last drive with some form of hobbled injury. He was limping off the field. So Boise State, last year you're talking about all their issues at the quarterback position. Well, this year it's the running back position that seems to be taking hits in a Boise State running game that's been struggling all year. And they finally turned things around last week, had 140 yards rushing, their best performance of the season. It seems like they're figuring some things out on the offensive line. But that's going to be a big question for Boise State is, are some of those guys able to come back? If not, are our backups? We're looking at a sophomore in Tyler Crow or another sophomore transfer in Tequeen Tyler. Can they step up and make some plays here and see what's going to go on there? So really, otherwise, it's going to be channeling through the Boise State pass offense. And I heard you guys talking about Bachmeier earlier. And yeah, he's had some issues this season with pushing the ball and getting things downfield where he shouldn't, making some bad decisions. But when you look at him statistically, he's one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the nation. He has top 15 in passing yards, top 15 in touchdowns, top 15 in completions. It just depends if he can maintain his composure through the whole game. What happens is he plays well for the first three quarters, and then the fourth quarter, he tries to take the whole team on himself and throws a bunch of picks. All of his interceptions have come in the second half this season. So last week, we saw a Boise State team that with a quarterback in Bachmeier who came out and played composed the whole game, and we won. And we'll have to see if he can maintain that in this game. That's going to be key. Sorry, I just wanted to give that. I hadn't talked about the offense before you got here.
No, definitely. One of the things I've seen in the past out of BSU is, we'll focus on the run or we'll focus on the pass. And then, you know, in the past, it's been, you know, some of your stud running backs out of the backfield on the screen. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure.
Absolutely. It'll definitely be interesting to see on Saturday. So with all due respect, I'm going to go into my keys to an Air Force victory. Hopefully your Saturday is not too bad, because I'm sure 4 losses sounds pretty bad. Anyway, Rick, so keys to an Air Force victory. Obviously, ball control is a big one. We've been doing that well, especially in our 5 wins. Have the long time-consuming drives. Take care of time of possession, keep that Boise State offense off the field, because as we know in the past, they have been a quick strike offense against us, as noted in that 2016 game where they went from the 8-yard line to like the 5-yard line in 2 plays. Obviously, we all know how that ended, though. Basically upwards, the goal for time of possession should be upwards of 35 to 40 minutes.
Sure, absolutely.
Obviously, wrinkles, catch the Boise State defense sleeping on the pass, make them count. So when we are going to throw the ball, we need to make every single pass count. I'm sure, hopefully we're finding Brandon Lewis a lot, and maybe we're seeing a long ball or two, kind of Robinette-esque of the 2015 game on the Smurf turf.
Yeah, definitely.
My next key to victory is convert 3rd downs, keep drives alive, and keep it frustrating for the Boise State defense. Obviously, as we've talked about, very frustrating offense to prepare for, hard offense to prepare for, and if you can convert 3rd and 4th downs, which I would prefer not to have to convert as many 4th downs, that's just frustrating for the defense. And I'm sure you probably have a little things to say on that, because I'm sure you've witnessed the 3rd and 4th down conversions, and I'm sure it's frustrating for Boise fans.
Once you see that as a fan, but even as the players on the field, you can just see the air go out of the defense, and then Air Force usually is able to rip off a big play the next play, because the defense, it's a different mindset once that happens to you. So
absolutely. And then my last key stops at critical times. Obviously, we're not, like you said, Boise's not going to stop us all day. We're not going to stop Boise all day. But if we could just get them off the field every now and then convert those 7, 8 minute, 9 minute drives and keep that Boise defense on the field, that'll definitely be a key. Obviously, turnovers have been a key in the past. I know Air Force had one game where we had 4 turnovers and still won, and I know that was up in Boise. Hopefully, we can avoid that on Saturday. But if we could get 7 turnovers like that 2014 game, I think that would be very nice. I know I'm wishing for a lot there, but just soak away time. That is one thing Air Force is going to have to do in order to have success up on the Smurf turf and get their 2nd win. Any more thoughts, Rick, on your keys?
Well, Jacob, thank you so much for joining us. One of the things, and I know you're a film guy like I am, the big thing I've seen recently is once Kyle Patterson went down, against FAU, we kind of reconfigured our approach. And what we did in that respect is we went to 3 tight. We've taken an offensive lineman by the name of Adam Karras, number 85, and we've bunched him in there too. So we're going to do a lot like you're going to do. We're going to challenge you to stop the run, and you're going to challenge us to stop the pass, and it should be an amazing game. I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Boise State, the BYU game, I think, was their 5th different offensive line combination, and they finally found something that works. So we'll have to see if regardless of who's in the backfield, if that offensive line, they're going to be the key difference here for Boise State, if they're able to perform well, get that push up front, and protect Bachmeier in this one. So
absolutely. And it'll definitely be interesting. Obviously, those are our keys to what we're seeing for a victory. Hopefully it works out for us. We'll see. But Air Force is just going to have to play tough. And like I said, sometimes their best defense is their offense just eating away at that clock 24/7.
Yeah, what do you got for a score prediction Jacob?
We'll get into that in a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Never mind.
we got one more thing.
So I
So
should wear my glasses during the script.
yeah, good.
All right.
So I know, Jacob, Boise State definitely has a different type of respect level for Air Force. And I know you were talking about that a little bit on your video, but obviously I wanted to give you a chance to kind of give our fans who might not have seen it, a chance to speak about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying, I am also an Air Force fan, and it's easy to be fans of both these programs, even with them playing each other, because of that mindset in Idaho. Boise especially is such a huge military pro community. I mean, you got Mountain Home just down the road there. When we were stationed up at Mountain Home, we were constantly doing things up in Boise or getting free tickets and that kind of thing to the games. And so you'll notice up here, for the banners, every single game, I've turned the opposing team upside down. But Air Force is the one opponent this year that I'm not going to turn their pennant upside down. And that's for two reasons. The first one is the amount of respect that Boise State fans have for Air Force fans. I mean, every single Boise State fan, and I think I'm okay using the universal term here, but every single Boise State fan is connected to Air Force through either prior service, military family members, or close friends who have military family members or served. And for me, it's all three. So Boise State fans have a huge amount of respect. I don't know if any of you were at the 2019 game, but when Air Force ran onto the field, traditionally, our student section especially will kind of boo the opposing team on. Some people don't like it. I personally do. I think it creates a nice atmosphere. But
well, that's what I'm going to do to the Raiders on Sunday, so I totally get it.
There you go. But for Air Force, they cheered them onto the field, because we understand this is the second reason why the pennant's upside down, is because this pennant here, this Air Force Falcons, it doesn't just represent a football team or a group of guys meeting together to play on Saturdays. This represents a group of guys and women, obviously, who are meeting together to plan their futures and the protection and the future of this country. They're giving up, they're putting their lives on the line. Maybe not all of them putting their actual life or death lives on the line, but they're putting their lives on their line. They're putting their time, their energy, and their livelihoods on the line for our country and for defending our nation. And so we Boise State fans, we have the connection to the Air Force, and we also understand that this is something great on ourselves. So when on Saturday, we're all of us in Boise, and all of us wearing Boise blue are rooting that our guys go out and crush Air Force. But we also, at the end of the day, understand that this is more than just a team. This is the future of our nation that we're playing, and the amount of respect that we have for them could not be higher. So yeah, thank you for having me on this program. It's awesome to get to talk with a couple of guys that are so deep in their Air Force history, and to be able to be sharing this. But yeah, the amount of respect that Boise State fans for Air Force, it's a rivalry, but it's never going to be a bitter rivalry, even if Air Force beats us again, because the amount of respect that we have for the program and for the men and women serving our country.
Well, I appreciate it. One of the things I was going to say this as a surprise, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know now. So last week was called a blue out against Wyoming. We wore the blue helmets, the blue jerseys, the blue pants, and it went so well against Wyoming. We're going to go ahead and show up in our blue. We will look invisible to you guys, and maybe that'll help us win the game.
All right. Well, it's a blue out in the stands. Fans have been told to wear blue, so it might be hard telling each other apart, but maybe that's part of the strategy.
I love that, and I just love the respect that Boise State fans have. Obviously, it's still a newer rivalry, to say the least, because you look at some of the other teams, like we played for CSU, Wyoming, 58, now 59 times this year, Army, Navy, even New Mexico. We played them quite a bit, San Diego State. And it's just great to see that new young rivalry, but also the respect level for Air Force at the same time. I think, it's not that I want people to like Air Force per se, because obviously there's going to be rivalries and there's going to be tough games and some hatred there, but as long as there's respect, and not just for Air Force, but for Army and Navy, it doesn't matter. If you're playing a service academy, you should respect them because they stand up for something more. And it's great to hear that the Boise State fans are doing that.
Well, I'll tell you what, in regards to the Boise State fans, Jacob, that's a great fan base, and I've never had fans from the opposing team instant message me and say, hey, when you get there, we got your meal, we got your drinks, and man, what a great group of people. I'm really impressed, to be honest with you. And the good thing is this series is going into double digits now, right? So this will be pretty cool. So appreciate the Boise State fans as well, and go Air Force.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only other thing I'll say is the Hawaii fans are nice. So you need to get back out there again. When I was there in 2019, the Hawaii fans were phenomenal.
It's
Yeah,
hard to live on the beach.
Their tailgates and everything.
Yeah. By the way, Tony. Yes, good fans.
Yeah, great. One of the admins for our Mountain West page, it's when a team, you're like you said, it's a young rivalry, but when a team beats you 3 in a row and once on the blue, that's going to create a rivalry there. So the last time Boise State hasn't lost twice on the blue in the regular season since 2015, and the team that got that second win was Air Force. So 10th game of the series, a lot riding on this as far as Mountain West Mountain Division goes, but also some series history as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I know Air Force is one of only 3 teams that has ever had a 3-game winning streak against Boise. So that's kind of fun to throw in there too. I know modern day, the only team, but going back to the 90s and the 80s, I know, was it at Idaho that had a 3-game winning streak, not in consecutive years. And then Nevada had a 3-game winning streak in consecutive years.
Yeah, we were playing Nevada in the FCS championship games and that kind of thing. Yeah, that was some good times. Built that rivalry. So I'm excited to see where this rivalry goes forward. But obviously, at the end of the day, the respect part is going to prevent it from being the same level as Nevada, because we hate Nevada so much. But at the end of the day, it is a great rivalry, and I'm rooting for a Boise State win in this one. But win or lose, it's going to be a good day, because anytime you get to watch Air Force and Boise State play in the same game is a great game.
Absolutely.
I second that. So let's get into our score predictions, because I know we're running a little long, but we've been having fun with this one.
I have a tendency.
should we let our guest go first, Rick?
Absolutely. What are you thinking, Jacob?
All right, here I go first, and you guys can just destroy me with your predictions. So well played. All right. So I think, like we've talked all day, these are 2 great teams. It's going to be close. Great Air Force team, a resurgent Boise State team. I think that at the end of the day, this Boise State offense is starting to figure some things out, and they're going to be just a little bit of an edge in this one. So I'm thinking a Boise State score of 31. Air Force puts up a lot of scores on this, and it stays close right up to the end, one of those nail biters. But the Boise State defense, I don't know, gets a turnover, gets some sacks, does enough, or not really sacks because of the running game, but forces some lost yardage to just do enough to get the win. So Boise State 31, Air Force 27 is what I'm predicting in this one.
All right, Rick, do you want to go?
Yeah, I agree with some of that philosophy. I think our offense is going to thrive. I see us scoring 35 points, and then I think Boise State's offense is going to thrive, and I see them at 31. It'll be I hope it's a shootout.
All right. So my score prediction is based on previous history stats. Obviously, I got to look at from the Air Force perspective. Usually, when we can beat Boise, it's either by 14 or 7 points. And I know our only win up on the Smurf turf was 7 points. So I'm going to take Air Force at 31-24.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Well, we want to thank you again, Jacob, for being our special guest. It was kind of fun to have an opposing team's fan and kind of hear their perspective and, see, what's going on with their team, because, we only know so much about everybody else but Air Force.
It was great being here. I really enjoyed the conversation. I love watching your show. You two have a great back and forth going on. It's awesome. So thank you for having me on here. And just before I close here, I want to say, go Big Blue.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Well, go Big Blue and keep going. And the birds are coming for you.
You know what my final thoughts are? Beat 'em up. Beat 'em up. Go Big Blue.
He did not take his Ritalin today. Have a good one.
All right, everybody. We'll
later.
see you next week as we break down Boise and hopefully a win and preview San Diego State. Thanks for tuning in. Jacob, thank you again.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, bye.